What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into my channel. My name is Kreepers and I'm here today to talk about some recent news we just got. Today's video was supposed to be about Terminus and how people are saying that he was pretty much dead because of the 3 seconds cooldown, but that many people failed to understand that Kronos did still affect the 3 seconds cooldown. I know that it wasn't a lot, but giving the option to now also buy Nimble, for example, because you can now buy different items from the same category, you could always go, you know, Kronos and so on. Like the gameplay you're seeing in the back, for example, I was using Kronos and I was actually doing pretty good with Terminus. Now, yes, I know that this is on PDS, and so most of the times I will find, you know, bad players and so on. It can happen, but it doesn't really matter because I tested this out in many different games. Unfortunately, I only managed to record this now, and I just got this information where this is all gonna change. So you don't even need Kronos. And for those who wanted to know the difference, Kronos was going to take up to almost 1 second of those 3 seconds cooldown. It will remain up to 2.1 seconds. And I know that this is bad, but like as long as you know how to place yourself near walls so you can use them to your advantage, you could always use the power siphon, and you could use it all the way down. But contrary to what I've been informed, supposedly you would get the full charge of the power siphon after those 3 seconds cooldown ended. But apparently that was just a bug, or maybe intended for the training grounds. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, I never thought the Terminus was dead, as people say it. Like, there's new cards for Terminus, like the fact that you can now just literally attack people to have energy back, which is something we never had, or even have charges for the runes, which is awesome as well. You know, and not to mention that the fact that you were going Kronos, it wasn't just affecting the power siphon, but it was also, you know, affecting the Shatterfall. But even so, let's talk about the new information that I just mentioned right now. So apparently, Harris never listens, right? This is what we've been informed. They never listen to what we want. PDS doesn't work for shit, but yet somehow they decided they wanted to do an update on PDS because PDS is now open for longer. So with this new update, they changed a bunch of things, including some of the things that we complained. And one of those things is the Terminus power siphon cooldown being reduced from 3 seconds to 1 second. So I'm guessing he's not completely dead. I mean, I was never the one who said that he was dead, but hey, sure. There you go. So now he has a 1 second cooldown. Honestly, it's not necessary anymore to have Kronos, but this will avoid two things. First of all, and I know this is pretty stupid, I think it was also creating a little bit of a bug situation when people were just abusing going up and down, turning it on and off, the power siphon. And the second situation is because it was also harder for us to kill them. Having those 3 seconds window to somehow apply something to him, like a stun or something, it actually gave us room to fight an enemy Terminus. Because in case you don't know, power siphon has this huge goddamn hitbox that for many times I didn't manage to kill somebody who was really low behind the Terminus because he puts his hand in the air and automatically he creates this huge ass field around, which he can come, you know, put up and down as many times as he wants. So putting up a cooldown for it maybe would have helped. But the problem is the cooldown was too much time. 3 seconds was a lot. And so I tried to go with Kronos, but that ends up creating the necessity to waste the credits on Kronos. So now with 1 second, I don't see it like that. And actually, it will also avoid those little bugs created for the abusing of going up and down with the power siphon. So that's actually pretty good. We got that covered up. Now, they also changed Con. Con now, as ultimate, has been reduced in range. Because in case you guys didn't know, it was changed. It was no longer an, how's it called, the auto-aim ability. You had to actually aim for it, and when you try to use it, if you could lock into the enemy that you were pointing to, and if your aim was correct, you would grab that person and you would use the ult. If you failed, you would have only 30% back, and you would have to try again when you got your ult back. But now, the range was, like, it was too insane. I think they actually buffed the range while this changed, so you could use it at long range, maybe? I don't know. But the problem was it was too too much of a distance. So instead of 300 distance units, it's now 180. This is almost half. So I'm guessing it's going to be even harder now for him to, you know, waste the goddamn sniper just standing in the back. It wasn't never intended for that, so that's actually good. We also have the power, that ultimate, the damage reduced from 900 to 700. It's still not the same as before because it was 600, but it still does make a little bit of a difference because if in case you don't know, 900 is almost half of health of almost any flank or almost any damage. So it actually is good that they reduce it a little bit. This way people still have a chance, even if they get grabbed. And they also put it like an orange outline to the people who are in range, so you know that you can use it on these people or not, and so you don't waste it for some stupid reason. So, as for Dredge, they also reduced the if you guys remember, they created this card, which used to be Spyglass before, and it was named Crow's Nest, which would allow you to use the broadside, the right click, as basically almost like a poppy bomb, a self poppy bomb. Doesn't work on enemies, and you could use this like to do insane jumps across the map if you do it correctly and you spam those the three grenades from the broadside going front, like with distance between them, and you can basically get the direction right. You could actually get the impulse from all of these three grenades and actually go across the map almost. It was insane. So what they did is actually they reduced it a little bit by 100 of impulse on all of the different points that you can put to the card, meaning that the maximum now is actually 500 and the minimum is actually 100. So we got that done. I still think that you should nerf it a little bit more, not just that, but even so, it's still really good. Really good. As for Grover, they fixed a bug actually, which apparently the Blossom radius wasn't correct. So now it's actually going to do it correctly with the Verdant Expanse, which I believe it's a card. I may not be saying it correctly, but you guys understand what I'm saying. It's just a bug. They fixed it. As for Koga, they changed it a little bit. Guild Tactics now has a 5 seconds cooldown on its effect, and that's actually good because people were just abusing this, and I actually saw many different videos about this. I was actually planning on doing a video about it by myself, but like everybody already did it, so what was the point of doing it myself? Even so, if I would have had to do it, I would have done it. But they put it a cooldown on the card, so it's better for people not to abuse it. And as for Imani, they changed it. People were saying that the ice was too strong and the fire was too weak. So what they did was something like this. The damage on the ice, the splitting ice, for example, is now 350 and not 400. I believe this is actually the talent where it bounces. I'm not entirely sure. I may have to... I'm probably going to do a video what the new changes for Imani, so be sure to look out for that. We'll still see about that and as well. They also said that the Pyromania damage fall off decreased. So I believe the Pyromania was a talent which would give you an AoE for the third successful hit with the fire projectiles that you have. And it would create this AoE, like an explosion where you could actually hit people. But it was so weak that people weren't even using it because even if you hit it a second person right next to the person who you're trying to attack, the damage fall off was too much. Like it wouldn't do almost as half of the damage that you do with initial projectile, so it wasn't even that good. And apparently they decreased it a little bit, so that's actually good. As for the Mana Rift motionless duration, they reduced it to 1 second. I believe this is the part where you have to stand still for 2 seconds to activate the Mana Rift. I'm not entirely sure that this was a good idea. I think the 2 seconds were actually good because you're basically giving her something that it doesn't reward her for having a good aim, so then she can spam stuff. I don't think this was a good idea, but even so, we'll see. We'll see later about how this is going to go. As for the Frostbolt mana regeneration, it was actually decreased. So what's going to happen is instead of having to hit 3 successful hit shots with the ice, now you have to do 4 to have that 5th instant shot, and not the 4th instant shot. So that's actually better. Makes it a little bit weaker, so that's good. As for the fire, they increased it. So hitting people with the fire will now give you more mana. It'll be easier to get that extra shot after you hit it successful shots a bunch of times. Also, the damage was increased for the projectile of the fire, by the way. It's now 1,100, which is really good. I'm gonna try to say this the way that you can understand. If you guys remember the Inferno Cannon, the Fire Cannon, whatever you want to call it, it acted like a beam which you could direct, almost like the Genos ult, but you can direct it, and it was like really a thin tunnel. So what they did was they increased the AoE of what it actually represented, the beam. So basically it's wider now, it's thicker, if you want to say this. I was trying to avoid to say that because people like to make jokes, but even so, it is easier to hit now with the fire cannon. Okay, Dragon's Call duration is now 25 seconds instead of 30. Still think that it should be 20 because it's really goddamn OP. If people know how to place Imani, it is too damn strong. As for the Frostfire Breath damage per tick, it was reduced from 190 to 170, so a little nerf on that as well. The Swift Shear Scaling. Swift Shear Scaling. I don't even know how to pronounce that correctly. But they increased it from 10% to 20%. I think this is actually a card, so now it will be a little bit buff on that. And then you have the Frost Fire Glide duration increased for half a second. So this will allow people to actually move around. I still think that they should increase the speed on it and not actually the time. But even so, that's pretty much it, guys. As you can see, Terminus has been saved. It didn't went into the live servers. Okay, it was actually good to be on the PDS. He actually said it after closely monitoring PDS. We are making a few balance adjustments ahead of Fire and Ice's release. Thanks again for everybody who participated in the PDS and left their feedback on social outlets. So as you see, actually communicating with them, they listen and they actually fix things. There's still. This doesn't mean that this is the only changes there will be. They still may change a couple things before it goes into live. Maybe like Fernando could be a little bit buffed on the first initial shot of the fireball. We'll see. We'll see if anything they're going to change. Beyond this, I kind of like most of the changes. Most, not all. But hey, it's still pretty good. I think Terminus is still really playable, not dead as people call it, whether it had this 3-second cooldown or 1, because like many other champions, when they get buffed or nerfed, I adapt to them, and the same thing would happen to any of you. Some people even complained that this was bad, that they died before even testing it, because they just heard of it, or because someone said it was bad. Like, it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't add up. Get your own ideas by testing it out. PDS is there for one reason, and it's for people to go there, test it out, and give feedback. No need to be all pricks about it, okay? And before you even test it, complain about it. And there's also a bug, by the way, as I mentioned before. I don't know if it's a bug or a feature. You'll get the entire power siphon back on training grounds only, not in the live games. I tested it out, as you can see on the gameplay in the back. That did not happen. So that is all for the video today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. And until then, have a wonderful time and a happy new year to everybody. Bye-bye, guys. See you next time.